could this help an economy and a market that sorely needs the help and the pickup? So far, again, the reaction to this, not that the markets would move on any of this for the time being, because Republicans are not in charge of the three branches of government. They hope to get at least in charge of two of them, the House and the Senate, in a little bit more than 6 weeks from now. But for the time being, it's just too soon to tell. Cathy McMorris Rodgers with us right now, the Washington Congresswoman, sits on the House Energy Commerce Committee, ranking member, all of that. Congressman, very good to have you.
Thank you, Neil.
There is a fear here that we're slipping into something pretty bad. The Dow, very close, just about at bear market territory, the lowest in a couple of years. Ditto the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. Now, the Biden administration, unlike the Trump administration, doesn't focus on markets. Do you think it should?
I think they should certainly pay attention to the markets. They should pay attention to rising inflation, rising energy costs that are making it harder for American families. And this is, and we have one-party rule right now in Washington, D.C. President Biden and the Democrats have the majorities in the House and the Senate. And what the Republicans are putting forward and what Leader McCarthy and my colleagues and I are rallying around is this commitment to America. And it is a commitment to create an economy that's going to be strong, a nation that's safe, a future that's built on freedom, and a government that's accountable. And in this commitment to America, we are addressing the issues that are on American minds and hearts and what Americans families are facing. You talk about what's going on in the markets. So we continue to see rising inflation and rising energy costs and holding big tech accountable, stopping this surge of fentanyl. Today, Neil, I'm sending letters to the many of the big tech companies like TikTok, Snapchat and Instagram, and telling them that they need to do more to stop the fentanyl sales that are killing our children. I know families, I know parents. I've talked to many in my own district who have lost their kids to fentanyl, just one pill that they buy on these platforms. And under Section 230, these companies are to stop the criminal activity. And instead, they've been more focused on censoring conservative speech online.
I understand that, and that those are very worthy causes of conference, to put it mildly. They're very worthy. But in this environment where inflation is running out of control and it's the #1 issue for most Americans, many of your colleagues were saying today, we're going to stop the spending. We're going to stop, adding more misery to the miserable spending. But in that plan and some of the things you folks have discussed, there will be some more spending, right? So where do you draw that line?
Well, the spending that we have seen in recent years is out of control. It's the Congress is basically signing these blank checks. It's trillions and trillions of dollars, and it's impacting the money supply. It's what's driving the inflation, the rising costs, rising energy costs.
So you would stop that. There'd be no big spending initiatives. You're open to tax cuts and that sort of thing. Could you maybe elaborate on that? Because that's what they're proposing right now in Great Britain.
Well, and I think that we want to make the tax cuts permanent. For example, we know the formula that was in place before COVID of bringing down reducing, the tax cuts, lifting the regulatory burden, the #1 barrier to doing anything in America right now that is crippling mining, manufacturing, processing, any energy projects is the regulatory burden. So we need to cut taxes. We need to lift the regulatory burden. We need to say yes to American energy. We need to unleash American energy. This administration is at war with American energy. They are shutting down American energy.
No, I see where you're coming from. I just want to be very clear, and if you can help me out with this. I know you're looking at tax cuts to do just that, cut back on regulations. Some fear that anything like that in the near term, will make deficits worse, will give inflation still more chance to continue surging. Are you worried that the very policies you're looking at could do that, at least near term?
The policies that are driving inflation are the policies that President Biden and the Democrat majorities in the House and the Senate put in place since day one. And I would point to where we were before COVID under President Trump We had a surging economy. We had people coming off the sidelines going to work, and we know this formula works. We need to get spending under control.
What do you think you would cut? What's the first thing you would go after?
Well, there's a long list. The latest package that was. Okay. 87,000 new IRS agents. That certainly has been top of mind. In this so-called Inflation Reduction Act, they tripled, Neil, the EPA's budget, tripled it. And what that means is
the
going to
EPA
be
budget. You would get rid of the planned increase in IRS agents. That might be a start, but we would still have a lot of things to cut, right?
We need to get the government. We need to get spending under control. In the Energy and Commerce Committee, we need to be doing our oversight. We need to be, oversight of CDC. CDC has never been authorized. FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. We need to get these agencies before the committee.
Understood.
We need to get them back on mission.
And there's a lot to unpack there, and we're going to continue unpacking it. Thank you very, very much, Congresswoman.